Welcome back, class. Today we're going to continue this build up to the American Revolution. And today we're going to look at who is on whose side. Are you loyal to Great Britain, or are you patriotic to the colonies? These are the Loyalists, these are the Patriots. And we're going to look at several different issues and who took what side when it comes to that. So for your notes today, you're going to need to split your paper into a T-chart. All right, I'm using different colors because it helps. If you have different colors, use them. If not, that is okay. But what you're going to see in the PowerPoint is that the Patriot view is going to be in blue, and the Loyalist view is going to be in red. All right, so let's continue over here, and I'm going to give you an example for the first one on how to take these notes, because you're still going to need that black color, or what I'm using. Because each issue you're going to have to highlight. All right, so this again is the Patriots, who were patriotic to the colonies, and the Loyalists, who were loyal to Great Britain. So the first issue is taxation. How should taxes be implemented? And we talked about the taxes, the Stamp Act, the Sugar Act, how the colonists just felt some type of way. They weren't represented in Congress. They shouldn't have to be taxed. Great Britain is like, no, we helped you win this war. You should have to be taxed, etc., etc. And now I've gone over this before. This is a lot to write. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at it. We're going to get the gist, and then we're going to go put it on our T-chart. And then you'll use this same example for each of the following issues. All right? So the Loyalist view, the first Loyalist view, the colonists should help pay Great Britain for the French and Indian War debt. That's how the Loyalists felt. This is a debt that was partially because of them. They should have to help pay for it. No taxation without representation is a false argument. The Loyalists said, no, you are represented in Parliament. It's just from your neighborhood that's already over here. You're a British colony. The British representative from wherever you are from represents you in Parliament. So even though there's not a colonist there, the Loyalists felt that this was false argument. This was, as the Donald, the big orange man in the big white house would call it, fake news. All right, so the Patriot view, the first one, the colonists should have total control over who taxes them. Because, again, they had their own government set up. They had their own economic systems, their own organizations. So colonial assemblies or parliament, the colonists should have a say and total control over who does it. If you're not going to give us a representative in parliament, our own assemblies should control taxes. The second view on taxation from the Patriot side was the colonists should have total control over how tax money is spent. Right now, they're paying these taxes. It's going to Great Britain, and the king in England gets to decide how this is split up and how that tax money is spent. All right. So again, we're going to take this. We're going to get the gist. We're going to go back to our T-chart here. All right. So what I would do if I were you is, in whatever color you did your T-chart in, off to the side, I would write taxation. All right, taxation. And then we're going to go over these views. The colonists should help pay Great Britain for the French and Indian War. All right, that was a Loyalist view. So their first point all right, colonists should help pay for French and Indian War. All right, you can just shorthand it. FNI War. At this point, you should know what FNI means. Shorthand the notes. Make it simpler and easier for you to write out. No taxation without representation is a false argument. No tax without rep is fake. All right? So, colonists should help pay for F&I war. No tax without rep is fake. So you see, I took what was said and shortened it, so that I didn't have to write as much, so that I could keep up with the notes. The colonists should have total control over who taxes them. So, colonists should control who taxes them. That's how they felt. The colonists should control who taxes them. Number two, colonists should have total control over how tax money is spent. Colonists should decide on tax money. So you can see I have gotten the gist of what these statements say, but shortened it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line so that I know that that is the end of the taxation portion of the notes. So continue to use this model, or if you are one of those that can write really fast and you want to write everything, you can. If you want to go back and watch this later so that you can write it word for word, you can do that too. All right. So the next issue is national security. National security here in the colonies. The colonists, the Patriots, believe the colonists can defeat Great Britain because they have a home field advantage. The colonists truly believed that they could defeat Great Britain in a fight because they knew the land better than they did. It was the same reason they had issues fighting the Native Americans. They believed that because they knew this land better than the British army, they could defeat Great Britain if a battle ever came to be. Now, the Loyalists felt the colonists cannot win a war with Great Britain because the British have the most powerful army and navy in the world. And this was a pretty strong felt belief across many countries. This wasn't just England's view about England. Many countries felt this way. The next one, should the colonists win a war with Great Britain, they will not have the capacity to defend themselves against France and Spain in North America. So they felt that even if the colonists were able to defeat them, they wouldn't be able to defeat the French and Spanish that are already in North America, especially if their only argument for why they could win is that they know the land better. Well, so do the French and Spanish colonies that are already there. And so that was a loyalist argument. We should stay loyal to Great Britain because they helped defend us against the French and the Spanish. And the French and Indian War was proof. Third one, the colonists do not have the money to form and maintain a national army or navy. So if they did win a war against Great Britain, they wouldn't be able to fund or keep intact an army or navy of their own. Next is trade. All right, the Loyalists believed being part of the British Empire gives the colonists access to goods from all over the world. Should the colonists win a war with Great Britain, it would be difficult to develop international trade relations, and therefore their economy would suffer. So Great Britain already had all of these relationships built and access to trade and trade routes and trading ports. And so because of that, the colonies would have trouble building those relationships. Great Britain had been trading with these countries for years, decades, centuries. The partnerships had been made and agreed on. Third, the colonists have a secure market in Great Britain for their goods and raw materials. So the colonists' main trade partner was Great Britain, and the Loyalists believed that, well, if we're not able to create a trade network with anybody else, we always have Great Britain to trade with, and they want our natural resources and the goods that we are making. And so we can continue to make money through them. An increase in control by the British government should not alone justify going to war. This should say going to war. I don't know why. Going to war. But the Loyalists believed that just because the British government wanted to have more control in the colonies, it was not a reason to go to war. The Loyalists felt that's a silly thing to fight about. Why would we fight about that? The Loyalists also said an imperfect situation is better than the unknown. Just because this situation isn't perfect, we at least know what to expect, we know what's going on, we know how it's going to be. But if we separate from England, all of a sudden this is an unknown situation. We have no idea how it's going to work. We have no idea how it's going to run. We have no idea who we're going to trade with. It is all unknown. And it's going to have to all be made up as we go. And for a lot of people, this is a fear of the unknown. And this is a reason not to go to war. The last one, if the war is lost, some of the most intelligent, respected leaders in the colonies will be hung. Or hanged. This would be treason. The punishment for treason is death. And by fighting against Great Britain, you were fighting against the government that was in charge. And therefore, all of those leaders are going to be killed for treason, for trying to overthrow the government. And so Loyalists felt, well, if all of our great leaders are killed, how can we run and rule ourselves following the end of this war, especially if we lose? And that was going to war. Again, I don't know why it wasn't showing. The last one are English subjects. The colonists' rights as English subjects are limited by the English Bill of Rights. The Patriots felt, you know what, we'll have more rights if we can just set things up on our own. If we can set it up and have our own rights and set up our own regulations, we will have more rights and we will be able to run better. The Loyalists said the Patriots exaggerated. It's an exaggeration. The problems with Great Britain are not that bad. And that's how the Loyalists felt. The Patriots said the colonists have repeatedly petitioned the king and parliament to hear their grievances, but were either ignored or answered with more British control. So every time the colonists reached out to Great Britain and said, hey, please listen to what we have to say. These are the problems that we have. Great Britain's response was either to completely ignore them and not acknowledge their issues, or put more control. For example, the proclamation of 1763. The colonists said, hey, we're getting overrun over here. We need to expand. We have so many people here. They have all of these resources. We want to expand. And those grievances were ignored and met with more control because the Quartering Act came into effect. And King George put soldiers here. When the Sugar Act, hey, we're paying a lot in taxes for sugar. What is going on? We don't have this representation. We're not being able to have a say. His response? Stamp Act. More laws and regulations in place. More taxes. More control in the colonies. And so, what you see is that this conflict between Loyalists and Patriots kind of slows down the buildup to the American Revolution because not all of the colonists are on board. And if they go to war, they're going to need all the people they have because, like we just said, Great Britain's pretty big. Their army, super strong. Their navy, best in the world at the time. And so the colonists are going to have to be on the same page. And so this inner turmoil, this inside fighting between Patriots and Loyalists, colonists here in America, causes some problems and some issues. Now, you're going to have an assignment on Canvas. We're going to look further into who tended to be Loyalists and who tended to be Patriots as we continue on in this journey known as Build Up to the American Revolution. If you have any questions, reach out to me. And as always, you have a great day.